Elena Morris stood by the window of their cozy Bristol home, watching the grey clouds gather over the city. It was February again. The month her husband, Daniel, vanished without explanation. For a whole month, he disappeared on a so-called work retreat. Every year, without fail. She had accepted it for years. Trusted the vague explanations, the hurried goodbyes, and the silent phone calls. But this February felt different. The unease in her chest had grown, sharper and more persistent. This morning, as she tidied the attic, Elena's fingers brushed against a thin envelope tucked behind some old boxes. Curious, she pulled it out. It was a plane ticket to an unknown destination. Bristol to Lisbon, dated just a few days from now. Bristol to Lisbon. She did not recall Daniel ever mentioning Lisbon before. Questions swirled in her mind. What was he really doing there? And why had he kept it a secret? That evening, Daniel kissed her goodbye at the door, the usual hurried farewell. But as he left, Elena caught sight of a small leather-bound notebook peeking out of his bag. Her heart skipped a beat. February had always been a quiet, lonely month for Elena. But this year, she was determined to find out what lay beneath the surface of Daniel's mysterious disappearances. For days after Daniel's departure, Elena found herself restless. The quiet house felt colder, emptier. The plane ticket weighed heavily on her mind. Lisbon, why had Daniel never spoken of this trip before? What was he hiding? One evening, unable to resist, Elena took the small leather-bound notebook from Daniel's bag and sat under the dim light of the kitchen table. The notebook's pages were filled with neat, careful handwriting. At first, they seemed like routine notes, names, dates, brief phrases, but as she read further, the entries grew more personal, more urgent. One entry caught her eye. February 5th, she called again. Must be careful. The children do not know yet. Another. Lisbon trip, cover story secured. Meeting arranged. The secret must remain safe. Her breath hitched. Children? A secret? What had Daniel been involved in? That night, Elena's thoughts raced. She knew the Daniel she had married, kind, gentle, devoted. But these notes hinted at a life she had never seen. A dangerous life. The following days, she started searching Daniel's belongings quietly. Underneath the bed, in drawers, inside old suitcases. Each discovery brought more questions than answers. A faded photograph of a woman Elena did not recognize. A child's toy, worn and dusty, tucked behind the wardrobe. Elena's heart ached with confusion and fear. Was there someone else? Another family hidden from her all these years? And why the secrecy every February? Her resolve hardened. She would not let the truth slip away again. Somewhere in these fragments of Daniel's secret life lay the answers she needed, answers that would change everything. The following week, Elena's days became a blur of quiet investigation. Every item she uncovered was a piece of a puzzle she hadn't known existed. The faded photograph showed Daniel smiling beside a woman with dark hair and kind eyes. Their pose was intimate, far from a casual acquaintance. That same day, tucked inside an old book in the living room, Elena found letters sealed with unfamiliar handwriting. The envelopes were yellowed with age, but the ink was still clear. One letter was addressed to someone named Sophia. The words inside were heavy with longing and regret. I cannot tell you everything yet, Daniel had written, but know this, the February trips are to keep us safe, to protect what we have built in secret. The weight of those words pressed down on Elena's chest. A secret life. A hidden family. And a danger she couldn't yet understand. She wondered if the children mentioned in the notebook were Sophia's. How long had this been going on? Was Daniel living two lives, splitting his love and loyalty? Unable to bear the uncertainty, Elena decided to find out more about this mysterious Sophia. She searched social media, scanned old directories, and even made discreet calls. Eventually, she learned Sophia lived in Liverpool, a city a few hours from Bristol. And there were 2 children listed as hers, children whose ages matched those described in Daniel's notes. Fear mixed with a strange determination. Elena knew confronting Daniel directly might shatter everything. Yet, the longer she stayed silent, the more the secrets festered between them. One evening, Elena sat alone, clutching the letters, her mind racing. How could she protect her own children from a truth so fragile? How would she face Daniel when he returned? The month of February stretched before her like a shadow, filled with questions she could no longer ignore. Elena booked a train ticket to Liverpool, heart pounding with a mixture of dread and determination. She told no one of her plan, not Daniel, not her closest friends. She needed answers, and she would find them herself. Arriving in the bustling city, Elena felt a strange mix of unfamiliarity and hope. She wandered the streets, clutching the letters tightly. Her destination was a small neighborhood on the outskirts, where records showed Sophia and her children lived. The house was modest, tucked between rows of similar brick homes. Elena watched from a distance, hesitant, her throat tight. She needed to see Daniel's other life, the one hidden from her for so long. Days passed as she observed from afar, piecing together fragments of a family she never knew existed. She saw a woman with dark hair and 2 children, laughing in a garden. The children matched the ages described in Daniel's notes. The image struck Elena deeply. This was not just a secret, it was a second family. One afternoon, Elena finally summoned the courage to approach the house. The door opened to reveal Sophia herself. Their eyes met, tension thick in the air. "I know who you are," Sophia said softly. "I've been waiting for this day." Elena's breath caught. The woman's calm acceptance unsettled her. What truths would Sophia reveal? And what would happen to Elena's world once they did? The secret that Daniel had buried for years was now coming to light, and Elena was standing at the center of it all. The door closed softly behind Elena as Sophia led her inside. The modest living room was filled with light and the soft laughter of 2 children playing nearby. Elena's heart twisted as she realized these were the children she had only seen in photographs and notes. Sophia's voice was calm but firm. "Daniel isn't who you think he is. We've built a life here, away from everything. I didn't want to hurt you, but he chose this." Elena struggled to steady her breathing. The shock of the revelation was overwhelming. All the years of silence, the February disappearances, they were never about work. "He promised me this would never affect you or the children," Sophia continued, "but secrets have a way of unraveling." As the afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, Elena faced a choice she never imagined. Could she forgive Daniel's double life? Could she keep her family whole despite the lies? Her mind raced. Could she rebuild her life with the truth finally out? Or was it time to walk away and find a new path? The room seemed to close in, filled with the weight of betrayal and the hope for a future unknown. The train back to Bristol felt heavier than the journey to Liverpool. Elena sat by the window, the passing countryside blurring with her swirling thoughts. The conversation with Sophia had shattered the life she thought she knew. Daniel's secret family wasn't just a betrayal, it was a fracture so deep it threatened to break everything she had built. At home, the silence was deafening. The children played unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Elena felt torn between protecting them and confronting the man who had hidden so much. For nights, sleep evaded her. She replayed Sophia's words over and over. Daniel's double life wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. Each February trip, the whispered promises, the hidden photographs, everything was part of a carefully constructed lie. Yet beneath the anger and heartbreak, a quiet resolve grew within Elena. She was not a woman to be broken by secrets or lies. The truth was painful, but it was also a chance, an opportunity to reclaim her life on her own terms. She began to plan. Not revenge, not confrontation, something stronger. A life rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal, where she would no longer be hidden or silenced. One evening, Elena wrote a letter, not to Daniel, but to herself. A promise to be brave, to face the coming days with strength, and to find peace beyond the shadows of the past. The February that once felt like a curse now held a new meaning. It was not just the month Daniel disappeared, it was the month Elena found herself. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of the secret lingered like a shadow in Elena's mind. She knew the moment of reckoning was drawing near. Daniel's return from his February trip was inevitable, and so was the confrontation that had long been brewing beneath the surface. When the front door finally opened one cold evening, Elena stood tall, her heart steady despite the storm inside. Daniel stepped inside, tired but unaware of the changes that had taken root in the woman who had waited for him. Their eyes met, and a silence thick with unsaid words stretched between them. Elena took a deep breath, the letter she had written tucked in her pocket like a shield. "I know everything, Daniel," she said quietly but firmly. "The trips, the family in Liverpool, everything." Daniel's face went pale, and for a moment, the man she thought she knew vanished behind a mask of guilt and fear. "I never wanted to hurt you, Elena," he said. "It was complicated." Elena's gaze hardened. Complicated doesn't excuse years of lies. As the conversation unfolded, old wounds bled raw. But beneath the pain was something new, a glimpse of truth and the chance to redefine their future. Elena knew that no matter what happened next, she had found strength in herself she never knew existed. The hidden chapters of Daniel's life had been uncovered, but her own story was just beginning. The days that followed were heavy with decisions. Elena and Daniel spoke in hushed tones, the air thick with unresolved pain and fragile hope. The walls of their home held the echoes of secrets no longer hidden, and the future felt uncertain, stretched thin between past betrayals and a faint glimmer of what might be. Elena found herself standing at a crossroads, not just between forgiveness and departure, but between who she was and who she could become. The woman who once trusted blindly was now wiser, tempered by fire and sorrow. One evening, while the children slept peacefully, Elena sat alone in the living room, a photo album open on her lap. The images inside no longer held only pain, they were a record of a fractured past, yes, but also a testament to survival. She realized that the chapters written in betrayal could lead to stories of strength. The silence that had once been suffocating was now a space where she could breathe, think, and plan. Elena did not promise herself an easy path or a swift healing. She promised only this, to live with courage, to rebuild without fear, and to face each new day with an open heart. Outside, the first signs of spring began to bloom, quietly pushing through the cold soil. A new season was coming, and with it, a new chapter for Elena's life, written not by lies, but by her own hand.